Hi, my name is Teneshia Carr, and I'm a contributing editor at Inc. magazine, and this is All the Hats. I am so honored to speak to this culture shifter today, actress, producer, screenwriter, and founder of Hillman Grad Productions, Lena Waithe. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
So why did you decide to get involved with Indeed Rising Voices initiative? And tell me a little bit about season two.
Well, I can't take all the credit. I think they definitely raised their hand in terms of saying, hey, we want to do the work. We want to be inclusive. We want to do something cool, like giving $1 million to a filmmaker to do a spot for us. And my newly CEO, Rishi Rajani, was like, I think our brains are always wondering, how can we help the most people? And so he said, it's okay, instead of giving 1 million to one director, I'm gonna give 100 grand to 10. And they all do short films that can then become a calling card, but it can still be on brand with Indeed Rising Voices because they're all about finding people work, meaningful work, work that makes them feel fulfilled. And a lot of for filmmakers, their work is their life and their life is their work. And so we thought it was a really nice synergy. Indeed was really great about saying, okay, sure, why not? And they were even better when we said we need a little extra money on top of the 100 grand to pay for COVID costs and regulations to make sure everybody's safe. They were down to do that as well. And two of those filmmakers, well, really three, because one is a duo, DeAndre and Quincy, who are a married couple. They just directed an episode of The Chi, 504, which I just took a look at, and it's great. And Boma just turned in his cut as well. So they all took part in the season one, shall we say, of Rising Voices. And that's sort of, not to say every person has to come do an episode of something I'm doing, but if it makes sense, it makes sense. Boma just also shot some videos for artists on Hillman Grad Records. So what we're really trying to do is like really not only have it be a calling card for the industry, but we're a part of the industry too. And so what we're doing is we're looking at it and saying, hey, we think this is cool. Does this make sense to come over here? So that's really why we wanted to do it, because they raised their hand and they were willing to kind of mold it and shape it. And it's already working, and it's been really exciting to be a part of.
It's so incredible that you are giving real life opportunities to these filmmakers. I know how important it is to be an underrepresented artist.
Mm-hmm.
How important are these sort of initiatives for underrepresented filmmakers?
I mean, I think it's everything. It's a lifeline because even with the Hillman Grad Mentorship Lab, what we do is an 8-month program where it's free, but we pay for the teachers, we pay for them to come out and when it makes sense, and then ultimately we pay for a showcase at the end. And so what we understand is that we don't want money or accessibility to be a barrier between someone and their purpose or their destiny. So what we're really trying to do is try to figure out what would have made sense for someone like myself, or who's sort of being forgotten. And oftentimes it's people who, not just in the Black and Brown communities, but people who identify as queer or non-binary, or people who may say, oh, am I, the people often ask us, is there an age barrier to this? Or can you, is okay if you live here? I'm like, you don't have to be under the age of 35. You don't have to be living in Los Angeles. You don't need to be able-bodied. You don't need to conform to the binary. To me, all those things make someone a great storyteller, because they're going to have a different perspective of the world. And I think the more we can tell their stories, the more other people who feel like them will feel seen.
Can you tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how you built your company, Hillman Grad Productions?
Well, it's been such an exciting journey because Hillman Grad Productions has really started with one seed, which was me trying to be a really great television writer. That's all I want, And I think people may say, "Oh, did you see this vision for yourself?" Nah, I wish I could say I was that much of a visionary. I think God is a much better visionary than all of us. So for me, I was just trying to plant a seed of being a really good TV writer, and that didn't necessarily mean that I wanted to win an Emmy. I didn't equate those two things. I think I'm really honored and proud that I've had that amazing moment in my career and in my life, but it wasn't the goal. It never was. And I think when it is the goal, things become boring after you accomplish it. And for me, it got to be the beginning, rather than the end of my story. And I think it's because I really want to be a great writer, and me like getting 20s out there, as with the pilot presentation, which Justin Simeon directed, because we had such great success with the fake trailer for Dear White People. He said, why don't we shoot a couple scenes from your pilot that you're trying to get off so people can get a sense of what it is? Allison Jones, famed casting director, saw that piece and invited me to come to her office and talk to her. And we talked about our love for television and all these different things. And then She then was the casting director for Master of None. And Aziz said, don't do the audition process. I just want you to send me interesting people. And she said, I just met someone really interesting, and her name was Lena Waithe. And I went into his house, and the rest of my life changed. And so that's really how it's like, if you're doing the thing that you love, hopefully someone will notice it. Maybe I definitely was trying to be staffed on shows rather than be cast on them. But me being cast on that show led to me writing on that show, which led to me getting, and that led to me getting a lot more power on The Chi. I didn't have a ton of power on The Chi, but then I won an Emmy, and they were like, okay, here, take the power. You know what you're doing. And so that really kind of got me to the place of, now we're in season 5, like literally after I got to go back and watch a cut of the show, but it was simply because of me growing. And so I think the entrepreneurial spirit in my mind is a mix of me being, okay, this I've kind of gotten a handle on, maybe I can try something else. And I think a lot of people sometimes want to try a bunch of things at once, and they end up sort of not getting, I think, as far as they would like. But I think to me, it's about staying on one thing for a really long time. And then it's like Jordan was like, I'm pretty good at basketball. Why not try baseball? It's like, because he could have done so much in that arena, he wanted to try something new. And I think that's sort of kind of my space. Is like, once I've done something, to my ability, where I feel like, okay, I think I did that. Now I could try a movie. Now I could try producing a movie. So that's how you get Queen and Slim and then 40-Year-Old Version. Now I could try producing a show. Let's do Them Covenant, see how that hits. So it's really about me introducing other people's voices, because I know how much I wanted someone to introduce mine to folks.
That's incredible. Your journey is unique, and I'm sure that everyone is inspired as I am. Can you tell me the importance of telling our stories, and more specifically, the stories of Black queer people in our community?
Look, I think it's so imperative that we tell the truth, and that we leave. I always say, leave our stuff on it,
Right.
And so the work that really hits me, it is Baldwin, it is Hansberry, it is, in terms of filmmaking, it's people like, Casey Lemons with Eve's Bayou, and just watching those stories be told. But then also too, Menace to Society, like there's something in that. There's something in that water that you keep going back to. But even one of my favorite movies is What's Love Got to Do with It, which is not an easy watch by any means. But there's something in it that is so true and so real. You watch the Tina doc, and Tina's like, it's hard for her to watch that movie, because she said it's so true, it's so real, it's so vulnerable. And so I think I don't want us to move away from that, to say, well, let's just keep the pretty stuff. Let's not show the dark times that Tina went through to get to where she is. If we had avoided those dark moments that are very difficult to look at, I don't think we're able to appreciate the ending of that film.
Right.
So I think what I've learned is that we need, what I love about, and I'm just going to use this as an example, is like, What's Love Got to Do with It has really funny moments in it, like moments that we can like quote and laugh about and joke around. But there's also really tragic and dark moments in that movie as well.
Really uncomfortable, yeah.
Very uncomfortable. I was too young to be watching it, to be honest.
Me too.
Watching that, I was like, oh. But we always knew when those moments were coming too. We were like, this is about to be hold on. And you knew when to look away, knew whatever. But it was important that we see that and we understand it, because we have such a clear understanding of who Tina Turner is because of what she's survived. And so I think, to me, that is what I want people to do, is don't leave out the stuff that may make us uncomfortable.
Right.
Don't leave out the stuff that we may have to cover our eyes for a little bit, because when you do that, you're keeping something from us that can make us feel, some of us feel seen, and you're taking shame away from people to say like, oh, I shouldn't be like, okay, this isn't my fault. Then okay, got it. One of my favorite stories is like Robert Townsend talking about the 5 heartbeats, where someone who has gotten sober says, I saw that film and realized, oh, if Jesus could do it for that character, maybe he could do it for me.
Right.
And so Robert Townsend was like, oh, that's why I made 5 heartbeats. Got it. Understood. And so I think when we can't leave anything out.
I think the audience loses out too. Like the people who shy away from trying to hear our stories, they're like missing that fulfillment of understanding the world bigger, right?
Absolutely. Like Pariah is so important. And Pariah, just to talk about queer stories, is that I remember me and Justin Simeon sitting in a movie theater, at the ArcLight watching Pariah, feeling very seen and like, you know, but also too, there's stuff in there that also was very relatable that wasn't fun to watch all the time, you know, about a Black mother not having the best, but then also to see the complicated of the father stuff with her was so interesting. And I was like, oh man, whoa. So it's so, and the sister, the sibling stuff, it just was all so beautiful. And
I need to watch that now.
I'm telling you, go revisit it. It's like, you know, I still remember when her like rolling the window up, like it's just like in the backseat. I'm telling you. But I think it's important that we tell the complete story,
Right.
you know, and not just what'll make folks feel comfortable. I think that is, because also I put queerness into, you know, The Chi. And I definitely get people that say, do we got to have the gay stuff? Yes, we do, guys. Yes.
Yes.
And also it's like, I'm what, you know? So it's like, you know, it's very interesting, you know, even with Queen and Slim, India Moore being there, that's just every time I would be the screening, it would always get an applause break every time they popped up on screen. And so, but also for somebody that I'm not afraid to play in that thing that a queer person can write Queen and Slim, but I can also write 20s.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people, it's a new thing to get used to. It's like, no, you're a queer Black person, you only write queer Black stories. Or if you're going to tell a straight story, it shouldn't be tragic. You know what I'm saying? So it's all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah. Well, see, now we just get, that's off the record. That's not doing indie.
Right.
I was just talking, but you know.
No, but that was some a great piece of like a nugget that you shared there. I wanted to ask you one more question. Of course, this channel is all the hats, focusing on the journey and all the hats that we have to wear. What hats are you focusing on this year? It can be like personal or professional. Like, what are you focused on this year?
Many hats. Empathy hat, having great empathy for people, and the hat of like record label executive, whatever that is, you know, like I've definitely been leaning into that for sure. That one's big, but the hats are still there. Writer hat is always there. Producer hat is a hat I'm really kind of like loving and trying to help folks get their babies out there. As we call the work movies, TV show, this is my baby, trying to birth it, trying to help people birth their babies. As Susan Hill said, she was my midwife, you know, with 20s. So yeah, I love helping people, reminding them to breathe, reminding them to, it's gonna come, it's all gonna be over soon, and you're gonna have a beautiful baby that's gonna get on your nerves, you know. So it's like that's sort of, I think, the journey for me really is, yeah, helping folks get their stories told. And because I know how important that is, I know that's my responsibility, it's my job. And I'm there to introduce voices that aren't going to be safe and easy. So I know that's my role as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. Just make sure you keep focusing on that storytelling hat. Keep telling stories. We need your stories, man, please.
I will.